And welcome back to another BobBlast. Hi, I'm Bob Burridge, and this one is all about basically how I loosen up in the studio. You know, it's all in my Loosen Up book, okay? But, you know, I'm going to show it to you, at least in the next couple of minutes, what works for me. And again, it's only just how I loosen up, but how I prep the tables, the walls, and things like that, and get everything ready to go before I loosen up. So here we go. So in my studio, I have 8 tables. I paint flat on tables. And here's one of them right now. And so on top of the table, I stretch very tightly some plastic sheeting. And I get the sheeting from hardware stores, big hardware stores. And make sure it says 4 mil thick. It's 4 mil thick. And I trim it down and I stick it on the table. And I use this white artist tape. This is that 2-inch artist tape. It's extremely sticky. And I make it nice and tight, nice and tight. And the reason I do it nice and tight is because that is my palette. That is my palette. I stretch it. I don't have those little white trays with little colors on. I do all my mixing right here on the table. Remember, this is all about loosening up, right? Okay, and what a great way to loosen up when you get to mix like this. All right, now the best part about using this 4 mil thick plastic tabletop is after about 3 or 4 days of doing all my mixing, I can peel all of that plastic up like skins. It's got color on both sides, and I can use them in my collages. I don't throw anything away. And it goes right back down to the clean plastic. And that lasts for months in your studio. It's fantastic. Now the back wall, I'm asked about the back wall. You'll notice I pin a lot of things up on the back wall and I put tape on it. Basically, this is a 4 by 8 foot sheet, 2 of them, put them together, of a gator board. Now, gator board is very much like foam board, but just a little more dense. I like it because I can stick my paintings up on the wall during the day and look at them. You know, you stand back. And I use these big tacks to stick right into, look, perfect. So even when the paintings are still wet. So I do enjoy working with this back wall around me all the time. So now let's get to my table setup, and it's great fun. And so now my table's set up. You know, please understand, this works for me. And I try to make it very efficient so I can stay focused on the prize and not have my eyes wandering all over the place. So everything's in arm's length, you know, and it's very efficient. So I designed it and set it all up at the very beginning. The first thing I've done, of course, was I've written down my goals, my intentions. I might have even done some sketching in here in my sketchbook, just to get it out of my head. So now I'm very clear on where I'm gonna go. Okay, that's what the best parts. So having done that, now the table's set up. Remember, the plastic is already on the table here. I'm gonna be bringing out some watercolor paper. This is a full sheet, 22 by 30 watercolor paper. And I love to work flat because when I put the paint down, I want it to stay there. But if I'm working on canvas, I can work on canvas here on the table too. But if I'm working on this wall behind me, here's the masterpiece canvas, just fantastic. Look at how professional it is. And I put those 2 tacks right in the wall and hang it just like that. Voila, done. And now I can paint like crazy. And it doesn't take very long, so I want to make sure it's very efficient. Now let's talk about what else I'm bringing. Well, I have a bucket of water. Now this is an acrylic painting, so water is pretty important to me. And notice I have a low bucket. I have a low bucket, so I don't have to keep putting my brush in a big tall bucket like that. Or the other thing that's kind of fun to do is put it on a stool next to the table, so the height is pretty much the same. Again, it speeds up the whole process. But in this case here, this works just fine and dandy. So we have the canvas on the back wall too, or on the paper here on the table. my brushes. Now, I'm right-handed. This part is so important. I'm right-handed. Please put the stuff on the right-hand side. Okay. Now, again, I have lots of brushes. So do you. So I only put out the brushes that's going to work for me. You don't want to muck up the whole table full of stuff. It says, oh, look at all the art materials I have. So I'm going to just give myself some choices. There they are, down to 2. Big wide brush and a nice little narrow brush. I'm going to take out my paints. Here's my paints. See? There you go. Beautiful. There we go. See? I can do all my mixing right here on the table. Keep all my tubes of paint. These happen to be Holbein paints, heavy body, acrylics. Beautiful. All right. You probably have seen me using this big squeeze. This is one of those wonderful gadgets that somebody's invented that you can just put your tubes of paints in there and get all the paint. Look at that. You can get all the tubes, rather all the color out of that little tube of paint. It's a great thing. Big squeeze. Okay, what else do I have? Well, I have also large tubs of paint. This is a Holbein product. Instead of just the tubes, I also can get it in tubs. So for that, I use these wide mouth tongue depressors to kind of like sweep it. And I do that. That's what I use for the tongue depressors. And I get them at pharmacy stores, and they don't have to be all clean, just regular tongue depressors. All right. A couple of other things. I do bring my nice little knife. I'm not usually allowed to have these things, but it's nice to have this. Now, I don't use gloves. I just don't use gloves because I keep putting holes in them. I paint a lot with my hands, so I use these like skin creams, lotions. This is called Marvelous Marianne. It's a great name, isn't it? And it's called a Skin Safer. And it's a hand barrier cream that I put on my hands before I even start anything. The best part is that it's a lot easier for me to clean my hands at the end of the day. And so it's working for me for many, many years, and this is what I use in lieu of gloves, just to let you know. And I also love to use my color wheel. That's what I'm going to always have this on the table. In my studio, I have a color wheel on every one of my tables, just so to remind me to stay on focus. And let's see what we have here. Oh, I have a spray bottle here. These are great, you know, that kind of adjust. Okay. So this is my water bottle. It's great to spray it on there. And that's about it for me. I stand also. I love to stand because I'm fortunate that I still can. And I love the cadence. That way everything is in arm's length. Now I'm ready to create. I might put on some music, turn off all your telephones, no outside electronic interference, right? But crank up that music, and there's a reason why you came here in front of your painting, is to do your best and to create. And I can't wait to see what you've created. Thanks again for watching, and at least that's how I set it all up. And I'll see you on the next BobBlast. Hi there, I'm Bob Burridge, and I'm really excited about making this announcement. This is brand new for me. It's going to be a juried show with prizes and everything. It's called Petting Zoo. Think about that, petting zoo. Everybody loves to paint animals, and from whether they're exotic or they're pets and dogs, you know. My gosh, I've seen cow paintings and chickens and rabbits and donkeys and birds and monkeys. They're fun to paint, right? But it's the personality of all of these exotic animals and your favorite pet, of course, and to paint them with love and really show that expression. So this is your invitation. Go to my website to view the prospectus and apply. And don't forget to pet your donkey.